All right, gentlemen, continuing on to our enemy situation. No change to the general situation. Again, to rehash, coming in following the invasion, they have established a screen line along the international border focused on the high-speed avenues of approach in order to defeat the expected Stryker forces conducting a counterattack to push back and reestablish the international border. Moving into the enemy sit temp 2 levels up. All right, gentlemen, overall, what we're looking at, the enemy is trying to turn our forces up to the north and force us up to their brigade decisive operation. Going from north to south, they have a company to the north as their battalion decisive operation. Task to disrupt, purpose is to prevent massing against the brigade DO. Between their shaping operation 2 and their DO, they have one company conducting a screen line, tasked to disrupt, purpose to prevent the bypass of the battalion DO. Coming into the company that we're expecting to face, we have one company tasked to disrupt to prevent the bypass of the battalion DO, and then continuing on to the south, they have a company tasked to block to prevent the envelopment of the battalion DO. All right, gentlemen, continuing on, again, no change to the general situation. Going into 1 level up, again, to reinforce, gentlemen, they're trying to turn us and force coalition forces to the north to their brigade decisive operation. All right, going from north to south again. The platoon we expect to face, tasked to disrupt, purpose to prevent the bypass of the battalion DO. On objective bull, shaping operation 1, tasked to disrupt, purpose to prevent the envelopment of the company DO. Down to the south, they have shaping operation 2, tasked to disrupt, prevent the bypass of the company DO. Lastly, planning priorities for their reserve is primary, first to objective Ant, second to objective Bull, and third to the south on objective Cow. Alrighty, gentlemen, to reinforce what you're seeing here, objective Bull is the dominant terrain throughout the AOR. It controls most of the avenues of approach. However, they are focusing their company to the north because Buena Vista is the high-speed avenue of approach where they anticipate Stryker forces coming from northwest to southeast to reestablish the international border. Moving into the enemy line wire diagram, the company down through the platoon and the platoon we expect to face. I'm going to go ahead and brief you here off of this map to reinforce the task and purposes. First and foremost is their decisive operation, tasked to destroy, again to prevent the bypass of the company DO. They have 2 squads to the flanks, both tasked to fix to prevent the bypass of the platoon decisive operation, trying to fix our forces within engagement area 1 here. Last, they have 1 squad tasked to disrupt to prevent the envelopment of the platoon DO, you see here in the strong point, specifically from the south west. Alrighty, gentlemen, moving into the red checkbook. The enemy platoon we expect to face is at 85% strength with 48 personnel. We expect to face for their HVTs the Panzerfaust and RPG-29s. The high payoff target for us are specifically the technical mounted weapon systems in the form of the Whiskey 87 as well as the technical mounted PKMs. All right, gentlemen, the organic weapon systems that they have, first and foremost, are the PKMs. They have 9, 3 mounted, 6 dismounted, equivalent to our 240 Bravo with a range of 1,000 meters. Next, we've got the Panzerfaust and the RPG-29s with effective ranges of 600 and 500 meters respectively, equivalent to our AT-4s. Lastly, for their fire capabilities, they do have SA-18s, equivalent to our Stinger with an approximate range of 6,000 meters, and then the aforementioned technical vehicles, 4 of which they have at the platoon level. Attached to them, they do have 1 mounted Whiskey 87 with a range of 1,500 meters, equivalent to our Mark 19. Lastly, the higher headquarters. As mentioned before, there are the 3 82mm mortars, additional SA-18 assets, and the 3 BMPs. Of note, guys, takeaway on this is the 1 2S6 Mike, equivalent to our Bradley linebacker with a range of 8,000 meters, primarily for air defense, but can be used for direct action against ground forces. This is of particular importance for us because of the proximity to our objective. It is located at Cactus Landing Strip, southwest of our position, specifically close to 2nd Platoon's ambush position, which I'll go over here shortly, less than 2K away from our objective. Enemy capabilities by warfighting functions. First of all, intelligence, gentlemen. As mentioned before, they do have OPs throughout the AOR, and they do have a distinct advantage in human collection. This will degrade the packs on the objective as a weakness that benefits us. The limited OPs for us will facilitate their ability to target and destroy our forces, and will provide early warning for the departure of friendly forces from the APOD. Movement and maneuver. As mentioned before, the technicals with the Whiskey 87s and the PKMs, as well as the mobile reserve in the form of the MIP. These are the most casualty producing weapons, and they're mobile on the objective. Biggest thing on this is it increases their flexibility on the objective and their ability to react to our forces. Fires, as mentioned before, the 82mm mortars, they do have the 6 Hind Ds as well as the SA-18 ADAs. The Hind D sorties as well as the 82mm mortars are a higher headquarter asset, which will require coordination from that platoon, which will limit their reaction capabilities to our forces. The enemy can't effectively use the mortars to engage us, specifically because of the counter battery capabilities that we have, which will force them to relocate and reacquire their targets. Protection, as mentioned before, they have been in position for 72 hours, which will give them defensive positions that are dug in, as well as augmented protective obstacles, reinforcing obstacles. Biggest thing with this, gentlemen, is that they are susceptible to indirect fire and CCA because of the limited overhead capability. However, they are protected against direct fire weapon systems. With this, we can expect mine and wire around the objective, which will slow our assault and require a SOSRA breach. Moving into sustainment, again, as mentioned, they've been in position for 72 to 96 hours, but they do only have, correction, let me step back. They've only got 96 hours left of sustainment. No medical, and they have limited resupply when they are in contact. Basically, this is big because they don't have reinforcement or resupply capabilities, and specifically with the limited medical capabilities, they will be less likely to want to conduct a counterattack. All right, lastly, the mission command. They do have FM Motorola's as well as cell phones. The comms will be able to be degraded not only because of line of sight with the terrain, but because of our jamming capabilities. The big takeaway on this is that their OPs and forces that are away from their defensive positions will have to remain within visual contact in order to signal and maintain command and control. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to brief off not only the COA statement, but moving back onto the blow-up. The purpose of this operation for the enemy is to prevent the bypass of the battalion DEO. Decisive of this operation is destroying 3 strikers. This is decisive because it'll force U.S. forces to the north and piecemeal our attack against their battalion DEO. They will accomplish this by conducting an area defense by strong point. Again, gentlemen, their decisive operation is the squad located here, tasked to destroy, as mentioned before, to prevent the bypass of the battalion DEO. Or I'm sorry, the company DEO. And they do have the 2 fixing squads, paralleling Buena Vista, again, tasked to fix, purpose to prevent bypass of the platoon DEO. And lastly, shaping Operation 3, the squad to their rear, tasked to disrupt and prevent the envelopment of the platoon DEO. Key enablers that they have, again, fires as mentioned before, their task is to disrupt. Purpose is to break up our formations, and their ADA tasked to destroy, purpose to prevent the massing of our combat power on their decisive operation. Enemy's end state. Enemy's end state in regard to enemy, us. 3 destroyed strikers forcing coalition forces to the north. Their friendly forces are prepared for the counterattack, and then with respect to terrain, objective ANT is retained. Civilians are unable to influence the operation. All right, gentlemen. Moving into the most probable, most dangerous course of action, if you look here on the map, we can expect the enemy on the objective ANT to be oriented on engagement area 1. We can expect their decisive operation in the center along Buena Vista, forward of their strong point around the tower, radio tower, utilizing Whiskey 87s and the RPG 29s and Panzerfaust. Shaping Operation 1 and 2 will each be to the flank, providing enfilading fires to fix the enemy within the engagement area. Shaping Operation 3, again mentioned behind their decisive operation within the strong point with mounted PKMs and SA-18s, prevent the envelopment of their DEO, specifically from the south-west. Engagement Area 1 has an IED at the intersection of Cactus and Buena Vista to initiate fires within Engagement Area 1. There's additional AT mines at the forward edge in order to fix mounted forces within the engagement area. Additionally, the enemy has placed mines on Cactus Road to prevent the bypass of Engagement Area 1 to the southwest. The enemy's withdrawal plan is focused to the southeast, where they can retrograde back to their higher headquarters and maximize the coverage of withdrawing forces with indirect fire and cast, specifically if they're withdrawing under pressure. All right, gentlemen, as mentioned before, the enemy expects U.S. forces to be in strikers mounted along Buena Vista, the high-speed avenue of approach from northwest to southeast. Once they cross Cactus Road, they will be within the range of their AT capabilities. You see that's the rear side, the forward edge of their engagement area. They'll engage the first vehicle utilizing IEDs in the minefield to bracket engagement area 1, integrating fires in at this intersection, again, to further bracket and prevent our retrograde or withdrawal from that location. Once the first vehicle strikes the IED, the enemy will use his Panzerfaust and RPG-29s to destroy U.S. forces within engagement area 1 in order to achieve their end state of destroying 3 strikers. The enemy will use his dismounted PKMs on the flanks for enfilading fire on any dismounts who attempt to maneuver on their position flanking to the north or to the south. And if vehicles attempt to move out of the engagement area to the northwest, the enemy will use command-detonated IEDs, again mentioned at the intersection of Cactus Road. The enemy will use these IEDs to further disrupt the U.S. attack. After 3 strikers have been destroyed, it is expected the U.S. forces will retrograde to the northwest and push up towards their company decisive operation, at which point they have reached their decisive point.